and welcome back to WVAN Channel 13 News. I'm Van DeKemp. Well, do you hate paying rent, bills, and taxes? Do you love adventure, nature, and off-grid freedom? Do you have a van, or can you steal one? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you might be interested in van life, a lifestyle that involves living, working, and traveling in a van. Whether you are a full-time van dweller or a weekend warrior, you will find out how to make the most of your van life experience in our hard-hitting report. Learn how this so-called van lifer deals with parking, hygiene, Wi-Fi, and moving his bowels. Discover the best place to camp, eat, and wash your stinky feet. Let's laugh along with the funny stories and mishaps of this van lifer's so-called adventures. So let's check in with our guest, who may be a fraud, live from his camper van in an undisclosed location. Well, hello, and welcome to Channel 13 News.
Well, thanks for having me, Mr. DeKemp. It's a pleasure.
How do you spell your name?
Tim, T-I-M.
Okay, Steve.
Tim.
Tim. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start out by asking, how do you manage to fit your massive ego in such a tiny van?
I don't have a big ego, and there's plenty of room in the van for two people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, do you ever get lonely or depressed when you realize you have no real friends or family?
No, that's not an issue. I have plenty of friends and family, and I don't get depressed.
And how do you deal with the constant harassment and ridicule from other drivers and pedestrians?
That does not happen.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
So what do you do to keep yourself entertained and stimulated when you have nothing to do but stare at the same boring walls or out the same window?
You're not living in the van. You live outside the van. You sleep.
Well,
and,
we've heard that you've run into some problems. And what are your plans for handling your legal issues? You've been charged with trespassing, squatting, stealing, and being a fake van lifer.
That does not apply to me. None of it. I think you got the wrong person there, Mr. DeKemp. Yeah.
Okay, well, how do you cope with the health and hygiene risks of living in such a filthy and cramped space?
Hey, you got to keep your van clean, and you have showers, so it's not a problem.
Right, okay. And how do you justify your wasteful and irresponsible use of resources and fuel?
Listen here, Greta. I'm not wasting anything. I'm perfectly safe.
Okay, that makes sense. And how do you respond to the critics and haters who accuse you of being a fraud or a sellout?
Not me. Nobody's accusing me of that. I don't know what you're talking about.
How do you plan on retiring or dying when you have no savings or assets left?
I'm prepared, brother. I'm very prepared. Just ask. Yeah.
Well, Tim, you've been exposed as a fraud. You claimed to be living in a van and traveling across the country, but in reality, you're living in a house and using a photoshopped van for your photos and videos. How do you explain yourself?
My van is not photoshopped, and I never claimed to be traveling the world or anything like that.
But you lied to your followers, your sponsors, and your friends. You made money and fame by deceiving people. Don't you feel any remorse or guilt?
You got me confused with somebody else. You got the wrong guy for this interview, bud. Yeah.
Do you think you can redeem yourself? I mean, do you think people will forgive you?
No. I don't know you're wrong. I don't know what you're talking about. At all.
Well, Tim, I think you had a lot of work to do to rebuild your trust and credibility. Thank you for your time and honesty. This has been an exclusive interview with Tim, the van life fraud. Stay tuned for more updates on this story. For now, I'm Van DeKemp on WVAN Channel 13.